Welcome back, everybody. Good to see you all again. Hope you and your families are safe and healthy. And we look forward to having a conversation and sharing any information we can about how do we keep our community safe and while we continue to train our athletes. Coach Schmetzer, did you want to talk about the team at all before we get started?
Well, Garth, there's not a lot of updates. I mean, the 11th was our last training day. It seems like, just yesterday that we were going to get on a chartered airplane to Houston to play our third game of the year. We were dialed in, ready to go, and, things change. And so I would, agree with your opening statement. I hope everybody's healthy, happy, the families are staying safe, social distancing, all of the things that we hear about on a daily basis out on all the newsreels. But I also hope that people get use this time to do some self-reflection, work around the house, do whatever it is that makes them feel mentally happy as well. I've done a lot of that. We've done a lot of walking. My wife, Christine, and I, our dog is leading a charmed life. I mean, he gets 2-hour-long walks a day. Both of his parental units take good care of him. He's in the room here watching movies with us all the time. So he's actually living a pretty charmed life right now.
All right, with that, we're going to throw it over to you guys here for questions. As a reminder, bring yourself off mute when you want to have one. I'm not going to try to put anyone on the spot, but I do see Nico Moreno has joined the fold here. I'm looking right at him. Nico, do you want to throw a question out to start off?
Sure. To both of you guys, in light of the recent extension to this isolation period and social distancing, how feasible is it or what feasible options do you guys see of the MLA season and how it would work once it gets going?
Look, Nico, I think that's unknown certainly right now, and we're not the only league in this ball, in this situation either, right? The NHL, the NBA. I mean, there's soccer leagues all over the world. FIFA's talking about moving transfer windows, and there's a lot of uncertainty, right? And there's some short term. There are some fairly easy solutions. We can push the season back to December. The commissioners talked about this already, and we can do some other things to free up some dates between now and December in terms of competitions. So we just got to let it play out. I mean, anything else is, it's kind of fun to speculate, but this has been unlike anything else in my career, Nico, that every 24 hours something changes, and you get a new set of facts, you get a new set, and oftentimes those are wrong again the next day. So it's just kind of this impossible guessing game right now, and there's so many things that go into that question in terms of how we play the season. I think it's tough to give a real articulate answer now beyond, we want to play. There's games, and we're going to get the games in, and we're going to try to give the fans, a full season of MLS soccer because, we want to be leaders in this community. And when we get through this as dark as it is, I think sports is going to be a great source of joy and unity in the community when we come out the other side of this.
Nico, thanks for that question. Again, lines are open to everybody. Just bring yourself off mute. I see Jeremiah has brought himself off mute, and I'm wondering if he has a question.
I actually didn't realize I was unmuted to begin with, but I will. I'll ask a question. I think I missed the beginning, but I'll ask it anyway. Garth, you had mentioned before this whole thing happened that the amount of flexibility you guys had on the roster was pretty limited anyway. But I guess the question is, has this affected your transfer window projections maybe for the summer transfer window, or was that always kind of not something you guys were looking to make any significant moves on anyway?
I we still haven't seen our full strength team play together. We didn't get to the point where Joe got a chance to play with João Paulo, with Roldan on the wing. And again, and I'm not saying that's how we would have wound up, but we didn't get a chance to look at what our team was like with our best Nico Ladero on the field. So certainly we haven't made any conclusions. We're always looking for ways to improve the team. To go back to Nico's question before, Jeremy, you may have missed it. He was just asking, how do you play the season? Our transfer window's in July, but we don't know where that's going to be relative to the season. And so there's going to be a different set of rules and calculations as to what we do in that window or don't do in that window based on where reason and not knowable at this point.
Alex, can I add to that as well?
Absolutely.
So what I would say in general, Jeremiah, is that this club, this franchise has done a great job in, the summer transfer windows, and whatever the rules are, that's up to Garth and Chris and Adrian and all the guys at that level to deal with, handle how this whole thing shakes out. But overall, the club has always made a statement that, look, we have a good team. We always want to try and get better. And we've made some pretty impactful summer signings through the course of my term here as head coach.
Hey, Coach, this is Nico. First of all, nice haircut there. I wanted to ask you real quick. You got a couple of guys like João Pablo and Jamar who they're rather new. Perhaps they don't have as an easy way to get around to exercise and stay fit because they don't quite know the city. They don't have as many connections. How much specific training or interaction do you guys have with those players to make sure that they are motivated, training, that they have all what they need to maybe stay fit?
Well, I'm sure you guys saw some of the stuff that was pushed out this morning. That was our first attempt at the coaching staff had of being Big Brother and actually watching the Zoom, the workouts that Sean and Adam have been prescribing for all the players. And we kind of jumped on this morning and wanted to just say hello to all the players and to make sure that everybody was doing what they were supposed to be doing. So that was actually a fun little get together this morning. Adam, Owen, and Sean Muldoon have done a great job of pushing out on individual phones, individual programs. I know the governor has shut down a lot of these things, but we're trying to follow the rules, but then also give them enough exercises, whether it's indoors, whether it's outdoors, whether it's with a foam roller, whether it's a toilet paper roll. I mean, you guys name it. We've tried to be as creative as possible to get the guys to continue to stay in shape. That's our number one goal. When Garth gets the okay from the league to start games up again, I'm sure that we're not going to get a 5-week preseason in again. So it's critical that we take these days and make the most out of them and try and keep them as healthy and fit as we can. I would say that you brought up Nico Ladero. You all know that he was dealing with a little bit of hamstring tendonitis. I would say that he is now chomping at the bit because he was very, very close. He was might have taken him even down to Houston, but then the rug kind of got pulled out from under him. So he is really now in kind of a space where he's had a couple extra, weeks off. He's feeling great, and he wants the games to start. So, we're trying to just deal with all of them on an individual basis, make sure that they're all ready to go.
I got a question, Coach, kind of on that line. Obviously, the league is set to presumably start on May 10th, but whether that happens or not is obviously another issue. But what kind of lead up do you think you need to get the team ready to play games? Understanding you're not going to have the full 5 weeks, as you said, but enough time so you're not risking injuries to your players.
Well, provided they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, we could probably get it in 3 or 4 weeks. We could make do. We'll have to make do. I don't know what we're going to get. I'll leave that up to the people that make all the rules and when the season's going to start. But there's going to have to be some ramp up period for the player's safety, and we'll continue to make adjustments in our, programs that we send them at home. For example, if we know that you said May 10th, maybe that happens, maybe that doesn't, and the league says, okay, we have a 3-week, 3-week preseason. Well, 2 weeks prior to that, we'd probably ramp up their at-home fitness sessions. We'd make sure that they all had stationary bikes at home. We would do whatever it takes to make sure that we get the right amount of fitness in, so we don't put the players at risk.
Thanks for all the questions so far, guys. If there are others out there that want to fire one off, go ahead, unmute your line, and go ahead.
Yes. I'm off camera. This is Jaime from Univision. And Brian, I have a question about the communication with the players. It must be really different and difficult to be a coach online, pretty much a virtual coach. How's the communication with the players? How are the players feeling about this whole thing? Of course, it's very stressful for a lot of people. I imagine they probably have their own stress.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've had some contact with the players, but a lot of it has been amongst themselves. I mean, Christian organizes his Fortnite video games. I know Sean, Adam, Chris Cornish, Hillary, Jake, we've had the yoga sessions. I mean, we've done what we can to try and keep the players engaged and have them have some contact with the coaching staff, the training staff, the fitness staff, all of that. But it's challenging. There's a lot of articles out there that coaches are sending them film and doing all of that sort of stuff. I mean, we've kind of shied away from that to start with. We don't know how long this is going to last. I mean, you can't have them watch film for 6 weeks straight if this goes out very much longer. So the coaching staff has started to work on intermittently giving them a little taste, maybe a little homework assignment, kind of putting it out there in smaller doses so that we can kind of not flood them with a bunch of minutia, but actually give them something that they will retain. So yeah, it's been very challenging. And again, in a general overview of the world, we hope that we never have to go through this again.
Hey, this question is for Garth. Hey, Garth, it's Mazvita. Is there league guidelines on kind of to what Brian was just saying? Is there league guidelines on how often you can talk to the players or interaction, or is it you're on your own until? Is there any guidelines from the league in terms of communication? And Brian, you could answer too as well.
Yeah, look, I think Brian just did a good job of describing what we are doing, and the league, I think, is less interested in how we communicate with our players and more interested that we're compliant with all the local and national public health guidelines. And those important to remind everybody to, our facilities are closed. We are not bringing our athletes anywhere. We are not sending them out in the community. We are practicing safe social distancing. Our athletes aren't even using the gyms in their apartments right now. So trying to get creative to keep them engaged, as Coach Schmetzer has described. That's certainly what we're looking at. And as Coach Schmetzer described too, we're trying to do everything we can to keep them engaged and to try to keep them interested and motivated during this difficult time for all of us. But the important message is that we act as good community members right now and try to be leaders and good examples of what is required of all of us right now in this shared sacrifice to get through this.
Hey, Garth, Jeff Carlisle here. Obviously, the league modified its protocol last week to allow some players to go to their home markets. Could you divulge, how many of your players have actually left Seattle and gone back to whatever their preferred market is and who that might be?
Yeah, to my knowledge, Jeff, none of our players have left the market, and I wouldn't describe that as relaxing the protocol. I mean, I guess it is slightly relaxed. it's still travel is discouraged. Non-essential travel in the Seattle area is, not permitted right now. So, the government has issued a do not travel advisory. So I just want to stress those things from a community standpoint. It is not advisable for anybody to travel. We're not encouraging our athletes to travel. A couple of weeks ago, before this got bad, we did send our minor players home to be with their parents. But beyond that, no one has left the market, and we don't anticipate anyone leaving the market.
Okay, thanks.
Brian and Garth, Larry Stone here. I was just wondering if you could talk kind of on a personal level of how you guys are handling this stay-at-home period. How it's going, getting your work done, and being with the family and all that.
Look, it's you try with every crisis comes an opportunity, and I've gotten to spend more time at home with the kids, and certainly that presents some challenges too. But it's been a lot of fun to be around them and to try to make the most of this family time together, and playing collectively on the weekend. I mean, I can't recall as an adult really having a weekend off, because I've always been in soccer, and now all of a sudden, this is the rest of the world is like. Saturday and Sunday, the workload diminishes a little bit. You don't have a game to play, and there's no game to watch, and there's no one to scout, and so you do all of a sudden have this weekend with your friends. That's fucking great. We are us here where we live. I mean, we are about a mile from the life care facility. So from the epicenter of the outbreak, my mother-in-law lived basically right across the 1 block away from the facility, and had some interactions with the folks that were working there. And obviously, unfortunately, many of them became infected. And so we moved her in with us to protect her, because she was in an at-risk class. And that meant that, and at that, it was a couple of weeks ago. So at that time, I was still going to games, going to meetings, going to mass gatherings. And so I actually moved to, we're fortunate enough, we have an apartment over our garage. I was basically quarantined there for 2 weeks to protect my mother-in-law. So, stuff like that makes it really real. To be clear, high-class problems, they are not relative to what other people are going through. It is absolutely no big deal. But Larry, to answer your question, they have that direct impact on our family.
Larry, I'll answer that in a little different way. I mean, obviously there are a lot, I agree with Garth, there's a lot of people out there that are hurting and suffering, and we obviously feel bad about all of that. Adrian had launched that foundation to help some people. I think there's many different ways that we can serve the public in a positive way. I think a lot of the Sounder fans out there and sports fans hearing from us, doing some small little details is important for the public. But as far as my own personal life, how that's been affected, I think it's gotten, it's a little different. Garth has little ones at home. All of our kids they're all adult children. They're all safe, and thank God for that. But we've kind of done some stuff on the bigger picture things. Our game model has been evolving. How we view the game, what we want to accomplish at practice and during games. We've had discussions about that with the first team staff. We had a couple new hires. We lost someone that was overseeing the academy system, and we have a new gentleman by the name of Henry Browner. We also hired another gentleman by the name of John Hutchison. And so we have made it a point to try and, ramp up and, supercharge the already great job that we've done with youth development. And so a lot of the discussions have been ongoing in between the first team staff and, the Defiant staff and the academy staff. I'm getting plenty of exercise. I've cleaned out a bunch of closets and taken some stuff away. My wine cellar is dwindling very fast. So there's been lots of things that have affected me personally with this situation
here. Sorry, whoever that was. I think Matt Pence was trying to get a question on the line. Is Matt still on with us?
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, so my question is far less topical, but a little bit more lighthearted, which might be welcome. But I've been asking a bunch of people for their favorite Clint Dempsey stories, things that were either revealing about his personality or kind of showed why he was the player that he was, and I figured that at least one of you two guys might have a good anecdote. So I wanted to see if either one of you had a good Dempsey story that you thought kind of revealed who he was.
I would say, Matt, that some of my favorite Clint Dempsey stories just revolve, and they're not anecdotal, funny, or whatever, but just, what made him such a tremendous goal scorer was his ability to create scoring chances from basically anywhere on the field or any situation that he found himself in. And me as an assistant first, and then as a head coach, to just watch Clint in training every single day was just amazing. I'm honored to have him, to be able to say that I was his coach. I mean, he's the greatest goal scorer this country has ever produced. Now, the guys that hung out with Clint on a more often basis, he's a big hunter, big fisherman. I know he had his fancy boat and he'd go around Lake Washington catching fish and going out hunting with Ante Razov and bird hunting and stuff. So he was a real outdoorsman, and that was something that he always enjoyed to do when he wasn't out on the field scoring goals.
Matt, I'll just come in real quick behind that and just say, hey, I got to know Clint a little bit because his daughter played in the same rec soccer league in Kirkland with my son. And so his wife actually coached one of the teams, and I got to hang out with him a little bit as a dad, and that was fun. It was definitely a different Clint than you get in competition mode.
For sure. Did that ever make negotiations awkward once you get to know somebody like that in that capacity?
It was later, believe it or not. I never was involved in a Clint Dempsey negotiation. Those are all before my time.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt.
Hello?
Other questions?
Hey, this is Annie Peterson from the Associated Press. I had a question for the coach. Unlike the NBA and NHL seasons, the MLS is only 2 matches into the season. So that gives you guys a little more flexibility. How optimistic are you that you will be able to get in a full 34-game season?
Well, I'd like to be really optimistic and say we'd love to have that happen, but unfortunately, I don't think there's any of us, maybe even on the planet, that's going to be able to tell you exactly or succinctly, when our season is going to start. I think Garth and the upper management people would be better off to answer that question, but even they are making plans for, great. Best case scenario is 34 games and we stack them up this way, and worst case scenario might be, we play half the games or whatever ends up being. But those are things that are out of my control, and I think they're out of Garth and some of the other people's control. We just have to, power through this and get through this very serious situation first. And I'm sure the people at the league level will make good decisions based on, the information that they have out there.
And I'd add to that too. I mean, to the extent we control anything here, the part that's up to us is if we all shelter in place right now. If we are following the guidance from the local and national public health officials, and we are, willing to, to be uncomfortable right now, to really pull together and get through this together, that's the best thing we can do to try to maximize the number of games that we play this season, is to take this seriously and hopefully we get through it.
Hey, Garth, Mickey, following up, what is the league giving you as far as guidance, as far as all of the teams training? Are they going to have, with all these different orders in place, expiring at different times? Is it your understanding that, when the league's ready to go, all the teams will go at the same time, or is that dependent upon market? That seems to be a potential competitive disadvantage if you've got some teams going and some teams not.
Again, Mickey, I think we just don't know. I've been in MLS in one fashion for 25 years, all 25 seasons. Playing, broadcast, and then GMing, and they don't make a lot of one-off individual decisions. So I think the strong cultural preference is going to be stuff collectively. I think everything will be on the table. In terms of if there are sites that are open, do we all play there? But again, I think the way this has gone, every single day we get more information and it changes. And so I think we just don't know. We just got to try to do our part right now as good community members to try to flatten the curve and to try to protect our neighbors. And if we do that, then hopefully it'll be a wonderful problem if at the end of this we get to pick, which markets are open and which are not. Right now we just got to act collectively in the interest of the greater good.
Hey guys, Jason Mitchell at SBI. I just wanted to clarify, while some teams are sending out exercise bikes and treadmills and whatnot, that's a step that you haven't taken yet?
We have not sent out exercise bikes as of this moment. We sent them foam rollers, soccer balls, small handheld weights, all the little things like that, but we have yet to go to stationary bikes.
Resistance bands too, Coach? I think we sent.
Yeah, stuff that's easily transportable. Each player got a take-home kit of stuff so that they can, stay in shape.
And you guys have the monitors and GPS units tracking as well?
We have not done that as of yet.
Okay, gotcha.
Other first-time questions, guys, and certainly, Nico, certainly we have time, I think, for a few follow-ups. But before we do that, are there any first-time questions?
Hey guys, it's Chris from Cairo 7. Brian, you touched on it, the relief fund that was set up by Adrian. I mean, that's a lot of money, and that's just a great gesture. I wonder if you guys could comment on just how it speaks to you guys in the community, and you've always been good community partners, and that's just another thing.
Yeah, I think Adrian has shown a history, even when, going back to 2002, when he first took over the club, the club was losing money, and he had to, we had to have some tough conversations with some guys. And, one of Adrian's strengths is he's a pretty humble, pretty good citizen. And even though there were challenging conversations with guys and cutting their salaries, he always underpromised and over-delivered. I think that's just ingrained in kind of who he is. I think that all of the players throughout the Sounders organization, even dating back to 1974, I say this a lot, that the club is the relationship between the players and the fans. I think this area of the country, I think there's a lot of people out there with philanthropic things, big and small, that is happening in this part of the country, and I'm proud to be a guy from Seattle. I know there will be some other announcements coming up soon about other things. The front office is figuring out ways how there can be some more touch points without touching of the players interacting with the fans. Adrian's money. There's lots of different ways that we as an organization can help the community. And I think we're investigating all of those avenues to be, like you said, good citizens and good partners.
Thanks, Chris. Any other first-time questions out there?
Alex, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, this is Pete. Garth and Brian, do you feel like some of the first games back to MLS might be in empty stadiums, or do you think will they ease into it, playing without crowds at the beginning? Do you think?
We don't have enough information to know right now. Obviously, I think one of the big things from my perspective is, we talk about unifying our community through soccer. Creating moments, that shared moment that we had at MLS Cup with 70,000 people at building. That was a really special moment. And, and as competitors, that's one of the things we play for is to have that CenturyLink home field advantage and playing in front of fans. So we're going to do everything we can to try to ensure that as many games as possible are played in front of fans. I think you may see us be patient in terms of launching the season to get to a point where we can play in front of fans, because we really feel like that's part of the Sounders experience. That's part of who we are. But again, all options are on the table. We haven't ruled anything out. And, it really depends on, can we collectively as a community come together flatten this curve and get back to a point as quickly as possible where some of these mass gatherings are safe again.
I think at this time we're probably clear for follow-up. So I think Jaime had one and maybe one or two others from Nico and company.
Yes, thank you. I have two quick questions. The first one is, has any player that you know of has taken the COVID-19 test? And the second question is the team planning on having more of the classic best of the Sounders games on TV?
Yeah, yes, we're going to have more classic Sounders games on. I think it's every Saturday night that those are coming on QTV. And Joe, and been really happy with our partners, and really fun to be able to reach out to our fans and share those games in the short term. We have had a couple players tested. We do not have any positive tests, is the answer to the first question.
Thank you.
And Jaime, I'll just clarify quickly to Garth's comments. All Sounders FC Classic matches are currently Saturday nights, as Garth was saying, on Joe TV. Can also be heard on 950 KJR AM radio.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
And SoundersFC.com on the mobile app. Other follow-up questions?
I mean, I was kind of going to ask a similar question, but are you guys, Garth, are still monitoring the team for potential positive cases? Was there a time period where you were analyzing that and that's now clear, or how often are you guys checking up on staff and players and members of the organization?
I can take that one, Garth. That's been ongoing since this started. I mean, we have a lot of great team doctors. Today is National Doctors Day. We want to thank all the doctors, all the EMTs, all the responders that are tackling this terrible disease. We want to thank all of them, but our medical staff has done everything to keep our players safe. Obviously, there's going to be, people that are affected with this virus. We want to limit that as much as possible. I completely echo Garth's sentiment. Let's stay safe. It might be a little short-term pain, but let's make sure that we keep safe. And they have spread the message of washing your hands, don't touch your face, social distancing. The doctors have made it very clear to us and all of our medical staff, Chris Cornish, his staff, coaching staff, front office staff. I mean, the whole Sounders organization has been very, very direct in their messaging about let's stay safe.
Any other follow-ups or first-time questions from the group?
I've got one follow-up. You mentioned that some players have been tested. Is that due to them presenting some symptoms, or was that out of abundance of caution?
Both. I think a lot of these tests are out of an abundance of caution. Likewise, what Coach Schmetzer said, just to go on that, are safe first and foremost. I mean, if anybody shows any symptoms at all, we try to get them tested. Whether that's a staff member, whether that's a support service team member, whether that's a player. If you're part of the Sounders family and you're not feeling well, we're going to do everything we can to take care of you.
Any final questions or remarks from the group?
I got one quick one for Garth. I read the Grant Wall story where you mentioned Sean Muldoon's daughter, Stella. Could you tell that story, please?
Sure. Stella is Sean Muldoon may be the breakout star, but Stella is definitely the lead singer. For those who haven't seen them yet, they're on our website. There are a couple different places now. They were on the Q13 broadcast just the other night. Sean models the exercises that our players do, and Sean's one of our performance coaches. He does a great job, and he films himself, and so the players literally can copy what he's doing. But he has a 2-year-old daughter named Stella, and she is absolutely adorable. And as the parent of a 2 myself, it's just a joyful age, and she moves in and out, and she does her version of all the exercises along with Sean. And she usually has some spectacular outfits that she's selected for herself too. So it's just a lot of fun, and it allows the whole family then to be able to do the workout as well, because the kids can join in along with the professional athletes, and everybody can do it together.